Boom, boom. It's the Curiosity engine, and it is number 4, which is the Quaternity. Ka-chow, ka-chow,
Eternity.
ka-chow, ka-chow.
It's been an eternity.
You were talking about fours last time, and things coming in fours, weren't you?
Hmm. Uh, maybe. I am
Maybe.
remembering fours, but I'm missing the link.
Oh, that's
Um,
that's cool. That's cool. We were talking about threes. We were talking about a circle with 3 perfect.
oh, it's
Um,
four. Four has to do with order or something,
for us to
right?
do with order. Yeah,
Four
yeah,
is
yeah.
the number of order.
Oh God! Oh
Order.
God! 4 has to do with order. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Dude, my brain's exploding because I want to do this. I want to do this show and tell, but I'm gonna have to change rooms to go get a piece of hardware to actually
Dude,
make it work right.
your blanket with the face on it was being picked up by your filter. And so while you were gone, it was just the face in your
The Alex Gray face.
yeah, just
Uh,
that face just inside of the Elon Musk rocket picture.
dude, that's kind of archetypical. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hmm. The I think he said that that image was ayahuasca inspired. I think he said that he saw that while he was doing ayahuasca. I think he said that. I was
So
trying to
why did they
remember.
call it the green god? Did they call ayahuasca the deity in ayahuasca? What do they call that being?
Ayahuasca, yeah, yeah.
Question.
A lot of
What's
people, yeah, a lot of
the
people,
deity that is commonly seen in ayahuasca?
yeah.
What's the name for that?
Um, Ayahuasca. I think that's a they.
Is it just her name?
I have heard it like just like our like it would be like an Our Lady kind of thing. You know how when people see like Mother
Really?
Mary, they have like Our Lady or whatever.
Well,
They
yeah, the presence is so real; it doesn't require names
no, well, no, 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 no.
or
Like
like explicit names,
I've heard
or
people.
you can just refer to it in certain ways, and it's just like,
I've
yeah.
heard people call her Mother Ayahuasca. I've heard people call her sometimes Aya, AYA, Aya. I've heard people, refer to her as like the mother of
Is
the
she
forest.
is she? Yeah, I'm just way too like I'm like, all right, what's she look like, bro?
What's she look like? We can answer this question. We can totally answer this question. You know what? When I did ayahuasca, I I had a very powerful experience 3 nights in a row in a country where it was legal, and it
Yeah,
was
good job.
yeah, 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 yeah. That's kind of a luxury you have when you get a little bit older. You can like,
Yeah.
I can see why people do it in the United States because they want access to the consciousness but I think that the realms that it opens up are you really need an experienced navigator. I'm sure that eventually you could get some homegrown ones here in the United States and stuff like that. But right now, there's a lot of the Shipibo people and their tradition I have found to be just really gentle and cool, and that's the one I was exposed to, and it was very
What country is this again? Sorry, I think I told you.
Peru or
Peru?
Brazil, southern
Brazil?
Brazil, yeah, Brazil,
Southern Brazil.
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Peru is where
Sorry,
Machu Picchu
continue.
is. Maybe it's in Peru. No, this is another one. But
Machu
anyway,
Picchu is
yeah,
in Peru, I think.
there's a
What if we're
there
both wrong?
right. Well, I got super lucky because the person that I got a chance to sit with was an American, but was
Oh
moved
yeah,
to
this guy
yeah,
was like he doing it like night over night over night for months or something like that.
dude,
Like,
and that like he had that connection to that spirit like in his soul. They
yeah,
were so close together, and that's the whole thing about that vine is it's a plant human cooperation, and in most of the experiences I had with him, the plant was doing most of the lifting.
that's why it would be called the Green Goddess. I think that
Agreeing,
was
I have heard green goddess refer to cannabis as well. I've heard people
yeah,
describe it
me
that
too.
way.
And that's what threw
Yeah.
me off at the beginning of this was
Oh,
I was like, and that's why I instead of just saying the Green Goddess, I was like, what's her name in a roundabout way. But
you know,
but I completely forgot about the whole like actual plant connection. And then last week or the week before, like when you were talking about that guy, and
Mhm.
he would just like try like other plants and would have experiences with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like any random plant that wouldn't be psychedelic, like a lily or something like that. And
When I when I first learned how to shamanically journey, I was dating a girl and we were very close together. We were both artists at the time and we were making a bunch of cool art and doing stuff together. And she had a surgery on a tooth where the tooth was extracted, and she didn't like how the pills that she was given made her felt. So she was just in pain. And I went on a journey using just my no drugs. I wasn't doing any drugs at this time in my life. Nothing. I was straight edge as fuck, and I was using a shamanic drum beat. And I laid down in this place in my neighborhood that was kind of wild, and I just made a plea to the ground to sort of show me what I could do to help my girlfriend with this issue. And I saw this one particular plant like so very 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 clearly. And then I came out of the journey and I uncovered my eyes and I turned off the music, and then I just went looking for that plant and I found it very close by. And I took some of it and I put it a little I cut it off and I kind of it was definitely the same presence in my journey as was in the physical thing. So the agreement was you can definitely take this. It's no big deal. So anyway, but I did that and I put it in some paper towels and water. So it was basically still alive. And I gave it to her. And I had in the journey I had heard that she could like chew on like 2 or 3 of these leaves. And so that's what she would do. She would chew on 2 or 3 of these leaves, and there was something in the leaves that was a medicament, and it knocked out her pain, and it really fucking worked. And she was like, "What the fuck? How did you know this?" And I was like, "Dude, I got this from our backyard because we lived a couple blocks from each other." And she was like, "Teach me everything. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?" And so we started to
That's cool as hell, dude. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, it was an example of what good shamanic practice kind of looks like, which is realistic. Like it's like a technology. It's like technology acquisition from altered states of consciousness. And this was a technology that was organic, and it was in my neighborhood, and it was like free, and it was right there. And I was like, Jesus. I was like, how dull do I get? People get dull around health by saying, "Oh, I'm just going to be healthy when I go to the doctor. I'm just going to, whatever the fuck." But like, you can bring that shit right to your own front door in terms of like what you need and what's going on. I studied herbology for a number of years, and there's just all kinds of cool shit you can get over the counter that does super powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, that's why we're sorting information out here.
So sorting information.
This is exactly what we're trying to do. We figure that that's
all right.
In the backlog.
Let's make a bank. Let's make a bank in our library that is holy images of holy plants. So my first entry in the cannabis category would be Mary Jane. I love the association to Mother Mary of this because that's where her name comes from, Mary Jane. She's the most famous Mary for great reasons. And I love this song.
I haven't ever taken the name that far.
Mary Jane. Yeah.
As be like a Mary, like Mary in the Bible.
Yeah, that's of course where it comes from.
Thought of it like that, and then the fact that you love it.
Oh
completes that picture for me.
Dude,
I never thought of it like that.
Mother Mary saved my life. I would not be in this dimension if it wasn't for Mother Mary. Here's how this went down. I wonder how far back I should go. We should go all the way back. I like to call this shit I do Midwest acid shamanism. because like no one except someone with a lot of fucking guts is going to copy me with that name. And it's
yeah, right.
And it's completely unmarketable.
It's completely unmarketable. Well, as soon as you said it, I was like, maybe I should tweet that.
Maybe I should tweak that? What do you mean? Oh, Midwest.
That yeah. I project a lot of what I'm thinking. I just put it down somewhere, and that's that name is it doesn't have to make sense to anyone. I don't explain myself on social media. I just do what I want. And I've been learning to do that more and more. I used to care a lot, but I used to not do anything is what I used to do.
You used to not do
And
anything.
yeah, and now I've been enjoying just like throwing things out there.
Throwing things out there.
Yeah,
Right.
throwing things out there with things I'm interested in. I'm not arguing with anybody or shit.
Dude, one of my favorite
Such a drag, dude.
some of my favorite Twitter follows are people who write like little haikus and poetry and shit. And for them it's just some kind of organic outlet for their creative nature. And that shit, straight from the tap like that, is some high octane goodness. And that is a very positive form of broadcast, you know?
That's cool.
Little
Yeah.
koans and shit. Anything that just kind of like
You
crack,
should,
it brings you back into the moment.
Share those with me. You should share those people with me.
I will share those people with you. Do you know what a numbers station is, my friend?
Nope.
Check this shit out. There's this dude in Italy, right? And he's like Marconi. Macaroni. We'll just call him Mr. Mac.
Okay. Macaroni.
Something like that.
Macaroni.
Marconi. He's Italian. And this is the guy who figures out how to make radio waves actually happen. He makes the first radio, right? Yeah. So that evolves into machines of different power that broadcast on different frequencies. So whenever you're like going out of town, like in Denver, when you go up into the mountains off to the right, there are these enormous towers. And the ones with the largest elements are TV signal towers, because they're broadcasting video and auditory information. That they have to have a fucking surface of conductive material in there that they just pump electricity into, and that electricity turns into the fabric that is fucking ABC, broadcast over the air or whatever. Yeah, a vibration in the connective tissue of the universe. That is the same exact field that is right now sending signals through my brain to come up with the right words to communicate what's coming next from out of me. It's the same electricity, only that electricity is carrying ABC because of its pattern, and this electricity is carrying my thoughts because they're in my head.
Okay, so number station.
So
we have
in the Cold War.
Yeah.
In the Cold War, and also before that in World War II, you'd have spies, right? So if you're a Soviet spy and you're hanging out in like Illinois or some shit, and you got to get your orders. And so what these guys would do is they go down to Cuba and they'd set up a big ass antenna and they would broadcast shortwave to our hemisphere, meaning you can get this signal anywhere in our hemisphere. Yeah. So it's a broadcast that goes out, and it's only for one person. There's only one person that has the decoder ring to know what the numbers that are being spoken over this. So 18, 14, 16, 12. Well, it's like all random, and they know that at a certain time there's a pattern that locks in, and then it gives them a message, which are instructions. And sometimes it gives them garbage, and sometimes they know it's garbage, and sometimes it's actually like, go here, do this. So it was a way. It's the reason why the Onion router, the Tor network was developed by the US Navy so that they could communicate with their spies. Because if their spies go to another country and they just use the fucking local Wi-Fi, it's going to be trackable by their state. But if you run the Onion router,
that's why the Naval Research Agency or whatever invented it.
Boom, boom.
Dude, it was we were talking about this at work, and somehow that came up, and I looked it up today.
That's fucking cool as shit. That is a synchronicity, because this was unscripted. Okay, so Midwest acid shamanism. The reason I call it Midwest acid shamanism as like kind of an umbrella term for all the shit that I personally do, and is because I was from the Midwest. Acid opened the door, and then shamanism like helped me glue it all together and like turned it into an actual worldview for myself personally. And it's kind of like, I guess, the process of making a personal myth. After I'm pumping all this Joseph Campbell through my head these days, it's kind of like looks like that to me from my perspective looking back on it in time. But what this whole story would start like I was on a road trip with my family, and my family when we were only together really ever when we were in the car together, and it was all of us in the car together, and we're traveling on I-70. I think it's not 70. There's another highway that goes down through northern Arizona, and it goes through this Hopi reservation, this Hopi Indian reservation. So this whole thing fucking happens right in the middle of this Hopi land where these guys are out there praying all the time and stuff. And I on this trip, my mom had stopped at a store, at a record store, and this is pre DVD. This is audio cassettes, or is pre CD. It's all audio cassettes, and we had our audio cassette players with us. And she was like, "Why don't you all just everyone get an album?" So I go into this CD store, tape store, and I look around, and there's this one album, and it's the band Sonic Youth. The album is Dirty, and it has this like kind of hand crocheted like piece of kitschy kind of art on the little. It was like an animal on the front, and I was like, something about that spoke to me, and I was like, yeah, that one. And so I popped the tape in, and we're driving through this. This is a very interesting time in my life. I'm 16 years old, and this journey turns out to be sort of the last time that I'm a young man, or that I'm a child. Last time I'm a child, like it's truly the beginning of being like a full member of society. Like, yeah. So there's so much about this journey that's like initiatory in nature. I'll just kind of back up. I worked at a gas station. The day I turned 16, I got a job at a gas station. My stepfather, his name was Pat. He's passed on now, but he got me this job. He basically knew the owner of the gas station and hooked it up for me. But I still had to go through the formality of going and applying, and I got the job, and I started legally on day one when I was 16. It's because my stepdad was like, this is going to be fucking good for him, and he was absolutely right. I worked so hard physically at this gas station. Like anytime I had any kind of trouble or problems as a young man, I would go to work, I'd work my ass off, and I could totally forget my world. And it was just wonderful. And sometimes they left you in charge of the gas station, and we sold fucking cigarettes there. So I could sell myself cigarettes. I didn't steal them, bought them, but clearly skating the law about needing to be 18 years old, or right. I think it was 18 or 21. I can't remember at the time, but anyway, it was illegal for me to sell myself cigarettes like this. And on this trip, I was going to start smoking because I can't remember who had talked me into it. Maybe it was my best friend at the time. Best friend Aaron. He might have talked me into it. But anyway, I had these cigarettes and I was going to like smoke them. And it was like this thing. It was just like, like a childish kind of thing on a certain way. So on this trip.
Were you had got cigarettes and you were going to like smoke them for the first time ever? Or you were like, yes, I'm going to start smoking consistently now?
Maybe I had like a cigarette or two and I had smoked a little weed. Maybe I'd smoked a little weed by this point. Had I smoked weed by this point? No, I think this is actually before I'd even smoked weed for the first time.
You weren't planning to become a smoker, though. You weren't like, this is the day I started smoking cigarettes.
Well, it was my mom smoked since I was a child, and she always smoked around me. And so it was definitely
the presence was always there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably like
more familiar with it.
Yeah. Yes. It was probably like had an adult quality.
I come from a completely different place. So.
Oh, right on. Like no smoking in the home.
Yeah. Not yeah.
Any. Yeah. Any.
Medical professionals is bad for you. Yeah. Less like Christian, very Christian.
Yeah, right on. Like Christian prohibition against smoking totally makes sense. Yeah. My mom was a punk rocker, and when she got pregnant with me, she was a pottery major, and her and my dad left college. I think maybe they finished college. I can't remember, and then had me essentially, and okay, now we're too far back. All right, time dial, whoosh. Okay, so I'm 16 and I'm on this trip with my family, and I got this album, and song number 3 is called Teresa's Sound World. And Teresa's Sound World has a very specific rhythm in it. Years later, when I learned core shamanism from the Foundation for Shamanic Studies with Michael Harner, they would introduce me to this 7 cycles per second drum beat, and that drum beat was pretty much exactly what's in that song. And now, the Sonic Youth is this crazy cool art band from New York that at this time in the 90s, early 90s, was making some crazy just spontaneous art, like spontaneous sound art. And they would do 20-minute songs, 30-minute songs, hour-long songs. And all of their songs were made with very little craft, but a lot of energy. And so when I say craft, I mean, it sounded like someone just picked up a guitar and just figured it out, which is actually their story. They didn't formally study, and they were more about the performance of the whole thing. So that thing we were watching right before we started, that was My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah.
That was their song "Feed Me with Your Kiss." And later on, that song, all My Bloody Valentine became like a placeholder, for a sonic placeholder for me, for a whole state of consciousness that that LSD kind of opened up for me. But that was later. That was later on in this 16-year-old story. So this one, this is before anything else was introduced. Um, I'm in the car with my family, and I'm listening to this song, and this drum beat is playing, and it's this doom 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 beat, and I'm listening to this beat, and I'm relaxed in the car, and the car is humming, and we're in this kind of, there's this rainstorm in front of us, and it's like some sunlight coming through, but like lots of rain, and there's this rainbow going from literally from edge to edge of the earth, and it just encompasses these beautiful mesas in northern Arizona, and on this Hopi reservation, and it was so beautiful, and it was so transcendently magical, and I realized that I was actually experiencing it like beyond what my eyes would normally experience, and then I tilted my consciousness down and I saw my family car, and I saw that I was like, and I looked, and I was like in the atmosphere itself, and then boom, a moment later, I'm back in my body, and I was like, and what had happened was that drum beat had activated a natural state of consciousness that I had not prepared for, and had allowed me to experience this holy environment in a really profound way. And the rest of that trip is so interesting because that's because later on, like maybe later that night, maybe the next night, we were in Colorado, which is where I live now, and we were staying at this kind of like we had this little cabin, and I was down by the river, and I was smoking, and I thought it was all cool and everything like this, but I would always I I would I was telling a story to my brothers and my sisters, and I was hanging out with them, and the story started with like this opening that went into the ground, and I was seeing it very vividly, like my imagination had been supercharged, and I was just telling like a bedtime story to my younger brothers and sisters, and it was I think we had extended family there. I think we had some of the other like the stepbrothers and sisters there too, but I can't quite remember the
Yeah.
specifics. They're always there.
Fam
My
was around.
fam was around, and I was hanging out with the
Yeah.
kids. And
Right.
I go in this journey, in this story I'm telling, I go down into the earth, and I see all these little people that are like mice and rat people, and they're wearing clothing, and they've got little scepters and crowns and shit, just like the shit you hear about in like Alice in Wonderland. And I had never been exposed to that kind of shit before, but I was seeing into a dimension just slightly perhaps askew from ours, and I remember the feeling of just this story, this description coming out, and my brothers and sisters fell asleep, and I was having so much fun telling the story that I just told the story for a really long time. And yeah, and then everyone was asleep and stuff like that, and my stepdad called me over to my mom in his room, and they sat me down, and they were like, listen, you know, you're not a kid anymore, and you can't act like a kid, and you can't relate to your brothers and sisters like a kid anymore. You've got to be like a young man or whatever. You have to do this. And I was like, I felt like a kind of a death, like a I was like, okay,
Yeah.
because
Was it?
they were serious, and I knew they were
They were
right.
like you. They were like you're too old for this.
Dude, I was the Pied Piper for a bunch of little kids, and I was
Yeah.
in their space and in their kind of consciousness,
Right.
and I was now receiving like a supercharge in this area, you know,
Yeah.
and so in any event, yeah, I felt like a certain part of me that kind of died there. It was like an inflicted wound, but it was done gently, and it was this reminds me of the right way that Iron John relates to the young prince when he comes to him. He gets all these injuries. He gets an injury of the finger in the cage. He gets an injury of a piece of his hair turning gold. And then he gets the injury of his entire head turning gold. And I was also reading this. Robert Bly was talking about what needs to happen in initiation between the wild man and the young prince. And what it is a the wild man has to demonstrate like three things. I forget what the wildness, of course, of his nature, but also he has to introduce him to the sun inside, and he also has to introduce him to the spring, the spring, like the movement of energy like through the body. And I was reflecting on this week, and I was like kind of stunned at how close our conversation is coming to some of these threads and some of these topics.
Yeah.
But this moment here in that we're at is this was a moment of initiation, and at this sort of confluence of initiation, I was given this gift, this spontaneous shamanic experience that I would later return to and understand and sort of unfold that gift in a 20 plus year adventure in using that tech to like navigate from inside out in a certain way. That's what core shamanism gives you, like or like a shamanic kind of practice or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
it's like it's the practice of being able to like work it, like
be able to work it. Yeah. No.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's yeah.
access
To
it
be able
consistently.
that's can access it consistently. To be able to go from a glimpse insight into the art of it, like the fullness of it. Like, and that's like the path of mastery. That's how mastery works. Like a calling. A lot of people I see, the reason why I feel like we're having this conversation is because I taught college for 10 years. And for 10 years, I saw a lot of young people come through my door, and they were having initiatory kinds of experiences in their lives, and our conversations just naturally kind of went to this place. So I like slowly kind of discovered this over many years. But these are all the topics and conversations that I was unable to have in that decade of teaching, and that is extremely cool to put a pin in now. So
I am I'm excited to
yeah, I love our
be
conversation.
be here.
Yeah, it's a good conversation. I think what I'd like to do is do a Scooby Doo right now, and then
Oh yeah?
come back with some additional tech. Ready?
Sounds good.
Stoner. 3, 2, 1. Sometimes the transitions are abrupt. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like somebody flips a
Sometimes they're
switch.
good, sometimes they're bad.
It's like really you're standing in a dark room, you can't see anything, and all of a sudden the light comes on. There's no transition. It's just 1 second it's there, the next second it's not there. That's how these things have to happen.
It's some things come out of nowhere and they're good. And sometimes they're bad. It's exciting to have things come out of nowhere.
Very mucho exciting.
Yes.
Number stations. So the reason why I brought up the way number stations were broadcasts that anybody in the Western Hemisphere could tune into, but they were only intended for one person. So people listened to them for years trying to figure out what the fuck they were doing, and no one ever figured out so
Never
many of
got a
them.
damn thing.
No, but it's a spy network technology.
Right. So does people still do that? Because I'm
Yeah.
sure that you could now make a computer listen to it and then just like run pattern software on it.
Bang bang, you nailed it, dude. You could have synth voice broadcasting, and you could broadcast it on the internet. You could also internet's trackable, but if you broadcast it on shortwave, that's the whole thing. There's no tracking, so you can't triangulate the passive reception of a signal. Yeah, yeah,
Just fucking there.
just fucking there, dude.
Tough
So
titties.
sometimes I think that what I might be doing is just an art-based number station. Like, just broadcasting. Sometimes I try to pretend like I'm broadcasting to everyone, but only maybe one person's gonna get it. And I'm like, what's up, my friend? Like,
You're here.
You're here. It's so nice. It's so nice to talk to you. But can you imagine? Can you imagine on this split between this universe, your universe and my universe? There's the whole world is in that split in there. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy. It's so crazy.
Is your split like on the side? Are you side by side, you and Zoom?
I'm side by side. Yeah, I can see both of us. I can see both of us right here.
I've got up and down.
Up and down. Oh, that's cool.
That's interesting. One on top of the other.
Yeah.
Why? Can I change it?
Yeah, you switch the view to gallery, and then you can drag them and stuff like that. Dude, we're gonna build. Okay, so here is the real reveal. I'm going to share this camera, and here's the cool part. I love that I can wander around out here, and I can still talk to you.
Yeah, that is pretty sweet.
It's really
This is
sweet.
nice. This
There's
is
all
nice.
there's all
You got
sorts of.
some. You got, dude. How many plants do you have hanging from your roof?
8 of them. Yes, and I've got them on a watering system, and the watering system waters them 4 times a day, 15 minutes, and that is how that gets done.
Look at that. That's right. That's engineering right there. Life engineering.
Little hydroponics, etc.
Little, make it awesome.
Okay, here.
Mhm.
We'll do it like this, that we can still see it.
Yes.
So we're okay.
You've fallen in love with that view, haven't you?
It's really cool. It's really cool. I can make some modifications to it here. Yeah, it's nice. That is a image of the valley that is immediately west of downtown Evergreen. So if you were a giant skier, like you were a if you were a giant and you came down to our universe on a beanstalk and you surfed into this ravine of land, you would go right through downtown Evergreen, of about a mile down the road, maybe less than a mile. Nah, a little bit more than a mile.
Nice.
Yes.
So yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to live. I feel so lucky to get to live where I live because I can very easily tell the difference between electronic electrical systems and natural systems. Like I run a lot of electronics, but there's not a lot of like strong power lines or like kind of grids around me like city wise. I've lived in very dense cities before, and it's you live very differently. You can't really let go and like let your field or let your perception just like really go in the city, or you're just going to be seeing your neighbor's dreams and shit, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
there's
just
too much noise.
I had a teaching gig in Fort Collins, Colorado, and for 4 days a week I would stay overnight in an apartment that I had there. It was like a bachelor apartment. My wife just saw it a handful of times. And dude, during when I would sleep there, I would have dreams about the neighbors. Absolutely, like I met so many of my neighbors in dreams, like way before I met them in real life. And
That's crazy.
yeah, you're just like this far away from someone else when they're sleeping. It's a density, dude. Uh,
Well, I think you got something else too.
Well, I think I'm just like I pick up that shit,
You've
and
attuned your senses.
so
You started early.
I was thinking about dreams,
Um,
and I was thinking about so all you have to do to remember your dreams is start telling people about your dreams. Like, um, I had a dream about you yesterday, and I had this dream not about you personally, but about your family. And I had this dream because and I followed this very specific technique which I thought would be cool to tell you about. And it's this that if you want to really remember your dream at a time when you don't normally sleep. Like sleep at a time when you don't normally do. So if you didn't get
that makes sense.
yeah, and you're just gonna take like an hour nap, but you're really gonna fucking sleep during this hour. It's a lot easier if you take like a siesta. You don't usually take a siesta or something like that to really remember your dreams. It's something you just have to really remember your dreams. You have to block out all light, and you have to. It's nice to block out all sound too. I use the Mindfold. I put that on and I go to sleep, and that way when your eyes naturally flicker open, it's perfectly dark, and so that allows the inner images to not be overtaken by the light in your room or whatever. And ideally, your skin is photosensitive. So if you have like an LCD clock that's close to you, and when you sleep, you are actually seeing that light through your skin. You're through the hormonal system, not through the visual system. Your body produces vitamin D when electricity hits it. Sometimes it's from the sun, sometimes from your LED clock and stuff. So it's a rhythm setter. So you want to like be totally freaking dark, like totally dark. Yeah, this is how you
That's
can.
why I wake up with the covers over my head.
Yeah, that's how you harvest natural DMT, and you get I've heard it called Nadir yoga. I have some books on it, but I haven't studied it deeply. But it's the concentration on the clear light or on the source of light inside of everything. It's a kind of yoga that you try to have your inner focus be on this bright light inside of you at all times. And when you sleep during the dream cycle and during the waking cycle. And there's a lot of these Tibetan arts that were dedicated to this. Dzogchen being the oldest of them, or one of the oldest ones, and these were types of shamanism out of that part of the world. Anyway, and these are some of the things, the practices and stuff that kind of come down from there. But I learned that in my early 20s, and I did try to practice it diligently for some time, and I found that just that balance of having a focus when you're going in and out of your dream state allows you to sort of hang on to the dream state more. It's easier to kind of slip in and out and know when you should take a note and when you're never going to remember what you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you write it down, that's cool.
Create a landing pad for yourself.
I have a
landing space.
I have a super simple audio recorder that I've used. I've memorized where the buttons are, and it's all tactile. So I turn it on, and I can take a recording, and you've got to catch it. The way you metabolize DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is you move around. If you move around, the blood flows, the hormones catch up with it, and the dream state essentially goes away, like it should. But that is what ayahuasca is. Ayahuasca is two plants, one of them that causes DMT, and the other one that inhibits the body's ability to make it go away. So where you might remember like a dream flash when you're waking up, that dream flash is like ayahuasca is that like opened up to minutes or hours and lucidity in it as well in a lot of cases. Lucidity. I've heard of yeah. There's this really cool. Have you ever run across Amber Lyons' story about ayahuasca? She was a journalist, and she went into a lot of war zones, and she got a bunch of trauma through exposure to these war zones, and that trauma soaked into her cells, and she was basically freaking out. And she went on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, and Joe was like, "You should maybe try ayahuasca." Joe had never done ayahuasca himself. She left the studio, went to the airport, like got on a plane, went to Brazil, and went into the jungle and did it, and had very healing experiences. And she made a website called reset.me, and that website recently kicked back in after a hiatus of about 5+ years. But in any event, it was all about ayahuasca's ability to heal the serotological system of the brain, which is the natural ability pretty much to get excited. And when people are depressed or down, if you put a hose in the bottom of that system and like flood serotonin through the inner system, of course some of this stuff is going to get knocked loose and transmuted essentially. So it was a successful transmutation for her of her war correspondent shit, and it brought her back to life in a way that she was like, everyone's got to know about this, and she made it her mission to tell people about it. She has a really cool website, it's a really cool set of videos, and that'd be great for the library. Deep dive into Amber Lyon. She's a cool lady, and
that is interesting. Makes sense.
She's like a translator in a certain way. By her publicizing her experience, it sort of introduces Westerners to what it might be like to live with the benefits of ayahuasca. And then you could do a very introspective and thorough job of vetting yourself to see if you're the right kind of person for it. Right. But I was at the hospital. My wife, I had to take her to the hospital a couple months ago. She's fine, but it was just an injury. And in the room just down the hall from us, there was a young man who had just got ayahuasca online, and he was freaking the fuck out. like he was in a prolonged delusion, and it was real as fuck to him, and I could tell it was real as fuck to him. But I was like, dude, that's why you go to South America, or that's why you go find a real shaman, or you really pray the universe that you want it to really work out, you know. And but anyway, it was. Damn. I know. I prayed for that kid for a couple hours.
You saw him? See him, or did you?
Yeah.
Like.
So I saw him come in.
Get to do come in.
Yeah, I saw him come in, and I heard him speaking to the nurse. I did fucking ayahuasca, dude. Like, it was like he was freaking the fuck out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, which is why you need an experienced psychonavigator who's been tested.
Yeah.
You need a guildsman that's been tested and knows how to fucking fold space, dude. And if you've got one of those, you're fucking great. And if you don't,
definitely be a far richer experience. You wouldn't be floundering.
That's it. If he was in that state with a real navigator around him, and I don't know anything about that stuff, but that particular science and technology, but like I just generally prayed for him, but like in the way I do. But a real navigator could that state would go away so fast because it just that's it. Whatever was going on and he couldn't handle that person with higher perspective would just fix that shit and they'd come right back and it wouldn't happen, more or less.
Do you and yeah? I mean, if you say fix, is that like talk you through it, or are they just kind of able? Their presence can do it.
They can see whatever is fucking with you is concretized for them. It's not feelings and thoughts. It's like something real for them. And to them, it's as easy as like, there's something, just pick it up and move it over here. It's like their dream state is so strong that they can conceptualize your issue and then just move it to some other place. And they get to choose where that is and all this shit, but they're good people, so they take it to the right places. Right. And but anyway, and then it just like, it's just like, it's like waking up from a bad dream or something like that. Yeah, exactly. Garbage removal.
Yeah.
Ethical garbage removal.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's why there's some negative stories in that same realm.
Well, I heard enough of those. I heard it. Yeah, I heard enough of those to be like, oh, careful.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
yeah. Like what you need is, you need it to be legal. You need it to be blessed. You need it to be, I mean, not blessed by the state necessarily, but you need, go to the deepest, richest tradition you can find, like as close as you can get to the source. Probably is the best advice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then really make sure it's right for you, because it's but anyway, being tested in consciousness is one of the themes. It's like an initiation of consciousness, and it's one of the themes in Dune. The main character in Dune goes through all these transformations, and one of the big transformations he goes through is the transmutation of a couple of very powerful drugs, but one of them is the water of life. And the water of life kills all men who take it. But he's like this fucking dude who can take this fucking super psychedelic and turn it into the stream of consciousness that's meant to come from it. And he then becomes the center point of the universe, and the entire universe essentially bends to his will from this kingly initiation at the center of all things. Yeah. Totally. Dune is a great fucking
myth. Who made Dune?
Frank Herbert wrote that shit in the 50s, dude. Frank Herbert.
What else does he write?
Well, he wrote Dune, and then he wrote a bunch of sequels, and his son writes prequels and postquels, and it's a fucking universe. But just that core
universe together.
Yeah, that core story is pure badassery in so many different levels. It's cool. It's very cool. There's October 1st. There's going to be the new version of that thing that comes out. You want to wake up and wake and bake and watch that movie?
Sure.
I think it'd be super fucking fun.
October 1st.
October 1st. What day? It's probably like a Friday or something. Anyway, I'm taking that day off from work.
It's far enough out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wake and bake with Dune would be super amazing. There's so many. Dune encapsulates so many cool rites of passage, and it's a story that holds a bunch of truths. And one of the truths it's got in there is guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare is how the Fremen conduct themselves, and there's all these different ways that they think about how that works, and you get to see that played out in this main character's arc of how he explored the shit he does. He's sort of one person. He's sort of one person when he's with his private family. He's one person when he's with his community. He's one person when he's at war with the world, and then he's this other person when he's like sort of reaches the king. Yeah. Yeah,
no, there's good archetypes there.
Good archetypes. Big time.
Or you could say like frameworks of thinking, like systems, like how to differentiate and manage your emotions inside of different environments, or what's important inside of those different environments, what separates them. Give you some delineation in these fucking stories.
Delineation in these stories. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna pick something here. From 0 to 21. Pick a number. Think about it though. Yeah, think about it. Think about it as like really think about it.
Really think about it.
Yeah. Or just throw it out. Either way.
Let me see. I was 17.
17? Okay.
17.
17. Okay, cool.
17. Right.
All right, so this is number 17. This is the star from the tarot. This is card number 17. And so this tarot thing, I'd totally like to talk to you about this tarot thing.
Yeah.
Because like,
keep going. I'm hearing a lot about this recently.
yes. So the tarot.
Take me on a journey.
The tarot is an attempt to encode psychological knowledge in visual form because the Roman Catholic Church was burning books, and they burnt 7 million women and 2 million men at the stake during this very particular period of time. And this is the period of time that the tarot emerges out of. It was an attempt to take what they understood as alchemy, or the transmutation of bad stuff or base stuff into good stuff, into gold stuff. So it could be thought of as a way of thinking about psychology, because these people, they lived in stories. So stories were like this really powerful mover of energy inside of them when they would tell stories. So what they did is they took their stories and they broke them up into visual images, and they recorded each one of those, essentially their archetypes, essentially, into these forms. They were trying to preserve knowledge that was written out longhand before, and also passed on in oral traditions that were being exterminated. So
boiling down a lot of shit into pictures.
So we got this naked chick. We got this naked chick
with 2 jugs, pouring one into water.
Or are there 4 jugs, really?
Yeah. Yes, there are.
Right. So this maiden or someone is voluptuous and has golden hair, like this golden star, and there's a golden tree off to the side and a crazy little bird on it, and she's holding these 2 water jugs, pouring out water, and some of the water is going into the reservoir and some is going out onto the earth, and we've got a star above her. It's one big star, and then how many little yellow stars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And how many points on the star? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points on the big star, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the little ones. So 7.
And it's this. Yes.
8. Go ahead.
Flowers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah. 10, maybe, or maybe there's more.
10. What's this thing on the? There's just a line
on the right. Maybe maybe that's like a signature from the artist of the card, perhaps.
Yep. So there's 10 little things.
Yeah. The 21 comes from the major arcana, and the major arcana is like are these big symbols. So anyway, I had a
21.
Yeah, 21 major, and this is where the deck of cards comes from, because then you've got cups and swords and God, I can't remember the other couple, but there's 4 other suits, and those 4 suits are essentially the same number of cards as in a playing deck of cards. So a playing deck of cards, playing cards are the tarot taken, we kind of stripped down.
Right, stripped down.
But the suits and the numbers involved in them are the same. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this is.
Can you play psychological games with these cards?
Dude, here's the thing about tarot cards. Tarot cards are archetypes. And so they are theoretically a way that a person could take their natural intuitive ability and connect it to a deeper part of themselves. And so, when people lay out tarot cards, they ascribe pattern and meaning to the way that they pull them, and some element of random chance of going through the cards and stuff like this. But I think that in the hands of a person who was very intuitive, you ever met someone who's like just really intuitive? Who's just like really like is on it before it's said out loud?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and it's interesting because I haven't spent much time watching anybody, but people I have met that have any knowledge are very intuitive for sure.
Yes.
But
yes.
My thing about the games were maybe it'd be like interesting to have 2 people draw the two intuitive people draw the. Could you like have them battle their draws based on what they play?
Yeah. It sounds like Magic the Gathering, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, except for yeah.
Have you ever
like not yeah,
have you ever played Magic the Gathering?
psychological Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, psychological Magic the Gathering. Have you ever played
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering or seen it played?
I played it one time.
Right. Okay. So just you know that you
earlier this year.
that's fun. I haven't. That's cool. I played it.
You know what? I got robbed on the same night.
Robbed. So like,
Yeah.
don't mess around with those funny cards, man. Don't do it.
The Magic cards.
The Magic cards. Well, the reason why there's such a stigma around them is because 9 million people died over this kind of shit. Like there was a
Oh yeah.
there was a native spirituality in Europe that the Roman Church
This
sought
is the
to.
tarot cards.
Yeah, the Roman Church
Yeah.
was seeking to extinguish a
Magic
natural
the Gathering cards.
intuitive connection to the land and to story and like a set of myths that actually worked for you. They were sort of trying to impose another firmware, and they were like stamping out this other firmware because some places it was integrated, some places the native one was so strong that it absorbed the Christian one and kind of Christianized its own. There's like a amalgam of like two metals there, and
Okay.
but other times it was just like wiped out. And these 9 million people that died, they definitely got wiped out. But yeah. So yeah, that's the reason why there's such a damn cloud over all this shit is because it's a harkening back to the death of a certain natural way of investigating the world. You could think of tarot almost as like a primordial science in a certain way. Like alchemy, the shit that was going on with alchemists is what turned into chemistry. And then chemistry turned
Right.
into
This is the
actual
big
science and yeah. So it's like they're cousins, even though one would say it's superstitious or whatever. It's like, it's an investigation of the natural world, which if you didn't have an investigation of the natural world, you never actually get to science because science comes out of the
Right.
natural world. It's a study of the laws and the forces and the materials that we are surrounded by, but
Right.
without mind touching it. You know, it's like
Right.
empirical.
Well, if you like
Yeah.
purely believe in creation, disallow the fact that evolution might be a thing, it's probably hard to see that at all. Even
Right.
to, like,
Right.
hold that perspective where you can.
Have you ever seen Neil deGrasse Tyson's?
Everything is scripted at that point.
Yeah.
You just accepted everything.
Oh,
There's no development. Just like, here's a gift, here's something free. No, nothing's free. All right, that's the fucking problem.
nothing's free.
free.
Oh
we
no.
all want something free.
Oh no. Oh no.
And
Have you ever seen Cosmos, like the first season with Neil deGrasse Tyson? His rants on evolution.
no, I haven't.
Oh, you'd love it. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a very particularly generous kind of science that tries to look into the why of why people believe creationism, and I guess it kind of gets a little combative in there. It was sort of cited on Fox News for getting a little combative in there. But what's so cool about it is that if you just go creationism, there's a story there, and there's a faith there, and there is a connection to God through that on some level, right? If it works out really good or whatever, right? In the best sort of circumstances. And when I see Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about the connectedness of all life, that to me is so much grander and so much more beautiful. I mean, it basically says
Right.
it says that your body belongs
like-
here. That it grew up here and it's 4 billion years old, and you're ancient. Like the systems you're riding on top of are ancient. And you process sugar in the same way that a leaf on a tree outside processes sugar. And you eat leaves, in a salad, and that you get the life force from the sun. It's a much bigger,
Right.
grander set of music in my view.
And I 100% agree. I never like contextualized it like that, but just my exposure to more science.
Yeah.
I know.
I think science can be
has
quite spiritual.
changed
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
When you understand kind of the blocks
Yeah.
at which everything is built on. You've
Absolutely.
been forced to like do calculation on that shit.
Calculations, 100%.
You can't. It's not like one semester introductory course. No, like multiple semesters over
You know,
time.
the really good spiritual people are the people who really do behave like scientists. They're interested in repeating the experiment. They're interested in it being true. They're not interested in delusion or in faking themselves out. They're actually interested in quite the opposite of all of that. And here, I'm gonna need to bring this up here so we can switch this thing. Bang. Okay, we're gonna go like this for the first part. Whoosh. And where are we? Okay, not that one. Maybe that was the wrong one.
That was your screen.
Oh shoot. Okay, cool. That was my screen. Dude,
It was like your desktop.
my magic carpet ride is very strong right now. Okay. Okay, here we go. Wom 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 wom. All right, how does this work? We're gonna go. I want this to be right side up, so it's got to go like this, and then it's got to go like this.
This guy looks weird, dude.
Sorry, it'll probably look less weird when I get everything. This guy is Paramahansa Yogananda.
He looks like.
Tell me.
Why did my mind go there?
What does he look like?
I was getting Pepe vibes from it.
Pedo vibes? Is that what you said?
Pepe.
Pepe? Wait, say
Pepe the Frog.
You were feeling like he looked like Pepe the Frog?
His eyes were just like.
Oh, I see. No, I get it. Dude, I can't even remember why I went and grabbed this thing. Oh, spiritual science. Paramahansa Yogananda was like a spiritual scientist. He was interested in the repeatability of his inner experiences, and he was an Indian dude who came to America and kind of converted all of these Americans to a Hindu sort of orientation of things. But he didn't really demand a lot of loyalty to their original forms. He was more interested in revealing like the source of it all to them. So he needed repeatable things that worked on command, that actually worked when you called on him, and that gave you the same kind of experience. And he talks more than anyone I've ever seen about the sort of science of the spiritual, of the science of how one repeats the contact with God over and over and over again.
Interesting.
Yeah. But he's got wonderful, crazy electric eyes, for sure. Here's a nice smile. Here we go. Dun 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 dun. Dude, these guys are chilling out under a tree, and a lot of the schools in India, when Paramahansa Yogananda was growing up, a lot of those schools were called forest schools. So the forest schools were where the rishis would hang out. That was the teachers, and then the students would just come. So the teacher would come out of the forest to the edge of the forest, and the students would come out of the village to the edge of the village, and they would attend school. And school was usually taught for free, and it was incumbent upon the local mystics to come out and teach the kids all kinds of things, and they would teach mathematics and science and their yogic science, the way of breathing and the focusing of awareness and attention, and that knowledge experientially building inside until one gains sort of a subtle control of flow of energy inside one's being, which is the basics of sort of spiritual plumbing with your body or something like this.
Yeah. Damn.
That's yoga. There's
a cool thing to learn as a kid.
Yeah! Can you fucking believe it?
How much more powerful you'd be?
Well, dude, it's like no time like the present. But yes, you would. I think it would make sense why children
obviously.
Children haven't been locked in the cage yet, right? They haven't been kind of constricted. Or when you see a child and they're really free,
you just get it like right, whatever. Right out of the watering hose.
Right out of the water hose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so when you're that young,
you're scripted right into you.
It would have been
So
so
much more
cool.
present when you're a kid.
I would imagine it would be so cool to have someone show up when you were a child and really teach you how to control your consciousness and focus your mind and still your body, but still be alive inside your body. And I think teaching a kind of very basic meditational spirituality could be cool. But then, you know, you're mixing church and state in the United States, you know, because that's really religious stuff. Or it's thought in the East, it's thought of as religious stuff, but it's also just thought of as just basic science. Like it's not a big deal. They don't. The Hindus don't evangelize, I guess, is what the point is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They kind of consider everybody to be a part of nature. And so when you just learn breathing, like pranayama, which is the breathing, the control of breath, when you learn that science, which is Patmanjali and all those texts, that's where it all comes from.
Okay.
You learn that when you learn that just basics, you it's kind of like proof is in the pudding. Like no one would keep doing it if it was fucking empty and useless.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of
Yeah,
empty and
that
useless.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Doesn't
So,
work. No one's gonna pass it on.
why it's like if it
Or
was
you won't
empty,
be able to. Yeah.
where's the energy that's like maintaining it through history like a rocket? Like where does that come from? Like yes. So anyway, Brian, that was a true sidestep.
That was a
Okay, Holy Cannabis. Holy Cannabis. You know what the best
Holy
song
Cannabis.
is? The best song? Sweet Jane by the Cowboy Junkies. That song encapsulates getting high and cannabis better than any other song that's out there. And it is such a
Ooh.
it's such a beautiful song. It's a ballad, and the Cowboy Junkies are good at their craft. They are true masters of that genre. It's going in the library. It's going in the library. Dude, have you watched any Rick
I
and
will
Morty?
listen. Watched all of Rick and Morty.
Have you watched the new season 5?
Is it coming out now?
It just came out like 2 weeks ago.
All right. Well, I'm not a true fan anymore.
Say that more
I've just
clearly.
been busy. I'm not a true fan anymore, I guess. No, I've been completely
No!
distracted by you. I blame you for everything.
Dude, I agree. I agree. And I am like season 3, episode 8 or 9 or something like that. And dude, there are some real fucking gems inside of there. I'll tell you.
The
In terms
new
of
season? Or
no, I haven't made it to it yet. I started at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, you're going all the way through again.
All the way through. I've never seen it. It's my first time through.
Oh, what? Okay.
Totally crazy, dude. It's so crazy. I mean, people told me to get into it for years, and I just ignored
Never
them.
mind. I'm
Yeah,
still a bigger fan than you.
totally, 100%. I'm like, I've been watching Rick and Morty for like a week and a half. Have you ever seen The Patriot?
Like the Mel Gibson movie?
Oh, that's so fun. That's so cool. No. It was I forget what station made it, but it's a story of a guy being out of sync with the world. What he does is out of sync with everything, like his job. It's kind of a missing father story. Rick and Morty is like a missing father story to me. Like it's
Yeah.
right.
That's because Jerry's such a beta.
Well, Jerry's such a beta. Yeah, in season 3 they throw him out of the house. He's like not even allowed to come into the house.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was a
shit.
beta.
But Rick is
you're
like
completely missing like the masculine father figure, but you have a shitty grandfather figure that does cool shit.
shitty grandfather figure that does cool shit. I know. It's it's right.
That's replacing like what the dad should be in
Right.
the show,
Yeah.
but as like a crazy grandfather
Right.
because Jerry's such a beta.
Yeah. Well,
that's what creates the stupid, crazy dynamics.
well, it's a beta,
That's
but
what fucks
also
all the characters up.
I mean, Rick essentially kicks Jerry out of his own house and takes over his family, and then tells him to his face that that's what he's doing. It's so fucked up. Then they make up. They make up. They go on that adventure to that place where no one can die, like it has the immortality field around it, and they kind of make up for like a heartbeat, and then they fuck it all up again.
Yeah.
So it's a
Jerry
story.
Almost kills him or something like that.
They're killing each other every other episode
Yeah.
now. It's like Morty tries to kill him. They're all trying to kill each other. It's like they are truly out of balance. The men in this story are truly out of balance, right?
Oh
Just do
yeah,
do 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 do
100%.
do. Yeah, it's a story of disjointed masculinity, disjointed madness. Because it's just a bunch of most of the time you're listening to Rick like rant. Dude, I watched the one last night where he pulls out all his evil in the spa, and it's like the gooey Rick.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then he realizes
Yeah.
he goes I've got no fucking attachment to Morty in this state. He goes, oh,
Yeah.
which means that all that sickness comes that attachment to Morty, which means that he really loves Morty. So then he proves to his evil self that he loves. And he's like it's like this crazy
Yeah.
dude.
How
Okay,
do you
okay,
keep
so
all that
so
shit?
so classic episodes. Rick Love Potion number 9 is about there's this existential moment at the end with this really slow Mazzy Star ballad where all of a sudden Morty gets it. He's like, oh, it's fucking infinite, and it just backs up, and he's just going through life without. There's no fucking meaning, dude. And then
yeah.
like a few episodes later, he's burying himself in the ground, and
Yeah.
like later in that arc, his sister Summer is saying some shit. She goes, "I'm buried, Outback. I buried myself. This is what keeps me sane." It was like it's such an existential story, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, pound for pound on the art here. The season finale of season 2, the wedding squanchers, and then
Yeah.
the rickshaw redemption at the beginning of season 3. Those two together might be one of the coolest pieces of art I've ever seen. Like it's fucking
That
crazy.
transition. Yeah.
The places they go to in that story is like, shut up. It's so crazy. Like just the levels it gets to. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me slam through it all sequentially again. 'Cause
Nice.
I've like picked over it all many times.
I use
But
this
I
thing
haven't
called
gone through it sequentially in a while.
I
Like,
use this
probably
thing
the first time.
I use this thing called Play on Cloud Recorder. It's a legal piece of software in the United States. Like, remember when radio or in television stations broadcasted their stuff and you always had to tune in live? Like, just imagine you live in like the fucking or late 60s, early 70s, right? And then like, okay, so then someone comes along with a Betamax and says, dude, you can record that shit when you're not there and then watch the game later. And the live people, and you can fast forward through the commercials. And all the networks were like, oh, you can't fast forward through the commercials.
You're taking away our value.
And
Yeah,
they
we
won,
will.
and it was called fair use. And if they broadcast it at you and you you capture it, you can keep a recording of it. You can't share the recording. You can't rebroadcast it. Those are different rights. But you can have a recording of something that's been broadcast at you. And people forget this, but fair use holds up in the United States, and you can go and for 20 cents a recording, you can 5 for $1. So it's $2 to record 10 episodes of Rick and Morty. I literally absorbed all 5 seasons of this video content, and I've got this little Rick and Morty ball that I've made that has which I will share excerpts from with you. But I totally want to share this season 2 finale, dude. Rick, dude, show me the other cartoon or the other character in any literature that has so much fun calling himself a terrorist. It's so yeah. Rick is like a galactic terrorist. That's his thing.
Yeah, he does call himself that. That's
But he's a
true.
freedom fighter. He's a freedom fighter. So
Yeah.
it's like the guerrilla
He's a
war.
freedom to do whatever the fuck you want.
Whatever the fuck he wants.
And
And he's a freedom fighter trying to break people out of these mind prisons. And you get to see all these fucking mind prisons
Yeah.
that the Ricks in their citadel. Even the smart Ricks make a citadel mind prison with crime on the streets and all kinds of shit.
Themselves.
Yeah.
There's different levels of Ricks.
There's a Rick hierarchy, and we're
Yeah,
led to
dude.
believe that Rick C-173 is the
shit.
most Rick. Yeah, the one that we're
Dude, I'm
following.
learning stuff about myself now.
Dude, I just it's so funny and I love
Sharding, dude.
oh
Hang on. No, go ahead.
dude Rick was it's kind of interesting. I have to go look up the dates, but I'm sure the Avengers came out and they did this episode they made fun of the Avengers, and it was super funny. It was like Captain Marvel was like this floating lady who would it's just like it's very wonderfully childish. It's awesome.
Wonderfully childish. Yes.
Okay, so
A good description.
The Patriot's about this guy who was with the CIA but not really, and his dad is a senator, and his dad's trying to broker like a. Do you ever see this movie, Charlie Wilson's War? Charlie Wilson
Dude.
was a senator who waged a war against the USSR, a proxy war through Afghanistan. So he armed the Mujahideen who drove the
Uh,
Soviet Union out of Afghanistan, and that was the last time that the Soviet Union was like they got their butts kicked. It was like their Vietnam basically, and we gave them the weapons. So he like basically kicked the communist ass, right? And fuck, what was I thinking? Shit.
The movie Patriot.
Right. So his dad is like a senator who's trying to wage a proxy war, but he's fucking failing because his son kind of fucks it up, but also the way that the machine works, it kind of fucks with him. And it is this
yeah.
dude, it is this beautiful meditation on work, on male friendship, on the emptiness of our society and what it gives to men. It pokes so much fucking fun at it. It's really good. And
Uh,
it's like two seasons worth, but it's kind of dark. I mean, it's
Oh, I have seen this. I
no.
thought you were talking about a movie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
I've
talking about a
totally
TV
seen
show.
The Patriot.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome. It's so
yeah.
fucking
No,
good,
I
dude.
love. Me and my brother, we watched it very close to each other. It was very,
Yes.
very good.
It's
Crazy.
it's got a lot of brotherly vibes in it. It's a lot of guys
Yeah,
relating to guys, you know? And
yeah,
and
yeah.
and I love the whole thing where he like shoots his boss and they go turkey hunting and that whole arc with that shit. It's so
Yeah,
funny, dude. And then he's
it's
like, "What you
crazy.
need is a 6-part compass valve basculator
Yeah,
or whatever the
it
fuck."
goes
Fuck.
all over the. It was like super deep, but he's just like so mellow and melancholy all the time. He just
Hundred
doesn't
percent.
want it.
100%.
He just
Totally.
doesn't want it, but he's just like grinding,
Totally.
doing it.
Totally. Awesome. All
Sense
right.
of duty.
There's a storm coming in and my window is open. My
Oh,
dun 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 dun. Dun. All right.
God.
I'm sending you some stuff. I'm sending you this. This is the HeartMath Bluetooth kit. This is going to be what this is it's a little sensor, and we're going to talk this little sensor. You hook it up to your phone, and this is how you charge it up. And I'm gonna send this to you, and we're gonna talk about loops. We're gonna talk about loops in the heart. You're gonna love this.
Loops in the heart.
You're gonna love this loop metaphor. And I'm sending you this. I'm sending you the this router, which I have decorated. So that is
Oh shit.
when you get the router, it's got these little wings on it, and you'll screw these on the side, and it's all programmed, and it has a VPN already built into it, and there's a way that you can switch the VPN on and off, which I will show you how to do. Because when we broadcast, what we'll do is we will keep it extremely real time. So we'll probably turn the VPN off, but then at other times you can turn the VPN on, and it's pretty. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Sweet.
totally. And this
Dude.
this router uses these special channels, so it gives you like super fucking superpowers. So you can like actually be on Wi-Fi and get like your speeds are like hundreds of megabits per second, like 500
Yeah.
megabits per second. You can
Chattanooga, baby. Chattanooga.
that's awesome. You can
Yeah.
that's great.
EPB.
I'm glad you guys have fiber close by. You clearly do. But you
We
when
do.
you the frequencies that this thing uses, it can actually bring all that speed off of the line and into the air. So
Yeah.
totally.
Exciting.
And all of the credentials and login details are in the shared library document from this week.
Oh yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I saw that.
totally.
Yes,
Totally.
sir.
Okay.
Cool,
So
dude.
we've got catch up to do on like 3 or 4 different levels. So Rick and Morty, great.
Rick and Morty. Love
You
that.
watched Until the End of the World, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it last
Yes,
time.
we didn't go.
How are you
Yes,
feeling?
The
Do we need a Scooby Doo moment? You good?
no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. I might have to go to the bathroom
baby.
soon.
Let's roll.
I might have to go to the bathroom
Do
soon.
you
but
need
we'll
a
see.
Scooby Doo moment?
Kind of do. I kind of do.
Until the end of the world.
Until the end of the world.
That Doesn't
Okay.
look familiar.
Okay. Until the end of the world. Actually, you know what? This whole situation needs to become inverted.
Oh, this is the slow mode.
It looks like there's a hole in the universe there. That can't be how it works. It's got to be much more like this. All right. You watched Until the End of the World. The Until the End of the World, I think, betrays a very powerful truth that Joseph Campbell put forward, and that truth was what we've been
It
talking about.
portrays or betrays?
It betrays while it portrays.
Okay.
It really tips the hat on it. So like when you go to the store at like you go to Walmart and you go to the fishing aisle. If you ever go to the fishing aisle, there's all these lures of different colors and
Right.
sizes. Different fish are attracted to different things, and
Okay.
there
Yeah,
was
everyone has their own bait.
everyone has their own bait, and exactly everyone has their own bait. And some of the baits were like these bright fluorescent colors. And I remember when fluorescents were invented. I was born in '76, and so the fluorescent colors kind of hit in the early '80s. And what you see in Until the End of the World is all of these fluorescents and these materials that were a product of industrial chemistry that was new, and yet it wasn't long lived. So there were colors that were made in like highlighters and stuff that you can't get anymore because the chemistry just isn't around anymore. Or someone could go back and rebuild it if they remembered it, but you'd have to have an original
They're not
sample or something.
producing it.
Yeah, they're not producing it. That's right. That's right. And so what ends up happening is Joseph Campbell said that a myth, the story of a myth, which has to be placed into time, is the truth inside, which is unspeakable, combined with the clothing of the culture. And so, Until the End of the World happens in the '90s, like '91, '92. And
Right.
it happens at this time, and it draws heavily upon all of these artificial sort of the absolute cutting edge of the clothing of the world of that time. So when you watch it in perspective, when it's totally, you can see the historical artifact nature of so many of the things. Like '91, there wasn't GPS.
What they're
and so,
trying to do there.
yeah. So they were trying to kind of invent GPS for the movie. So the GPS acts all weird and it does funny stuff and all this kind of stuff. And in any event, what is cool about that is that real good archetypical stories are encoded. And so you can very easily in this movie see the difference between the clothing of the story and the heart of the story. Because the heart of the story is real eternal. It reaches all the way back to the Australian outback and into the dream time of the Aboriginal people, one of the oldest people on the earth. Not the oldest, but like really close to being the oldest. For years they thought they were the oldest, and then they did DNA testing of the Kalahari Bushmen of southern Africa and just north of South Africa, and they are the oldest genetic people on the earth because their DNA is the most varied. Did you do any?
What town did the people live in the movie, or what country? Which one?
Australia. At the end, Australia, but this is before airplanes were easy to get on. That flight would have cost tens of thousands of dollars just for one person to take. Today, you could probably take that whole flight, that trip from the United States to Frankfurt to, I think they got to Japan, and then they got to Australia. You could take that flight for if you were willing to take some interesting connections, you could get around the world today much cheaper than you could when that was made. That was part of the trip, was like, dude, you could go anywhere. So they go to the Soviet Union, and they've got different software and shit. It's so crazy.
Yes, they're traveling all over. That makes it way more significant, huh?
Yeah. So the journey is eternal. People always go on journeys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's crazy. That's a new layer that I didn't get just based on my perspective.
Yes.
Being my age perspective.
No, and that's
for me. She was just like a free spirit that was doing this when she was young.
Yeah.
Versus that being such a big deal, like that you were traveling like that.
Yeah.
That's a big difference for you.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Significance. No wonder that all those things were so significant for her. Because if there were any holes in that story for me, it was that like, all right, crazy girl jet setting all over the place, but just stumbles into this hero journey
Yeah.
versus
It was
somehow
the
she's
it was
just
the fact that she
following.
was part of the chemistry was she was making that trip. She was pushing
Yeah,
that
she
hard
was.
on the world. She was doing it so effortlessly, but in the fucking 90s,
Yeah,
that was way before $75 trips from Kansas City where I live to Chicago, which that happened right.
commercial. When did commercial flight
It was booming
take
right
off?
before 9/11. Right before 9/11, you could fly to Atlanta for $40 out of Kansas City.
Okay.
Like cheaper than a bus ticket. Yeah. So anyway,
What the fuck?
dude, and then 9/11 happened and nobody flew for a really fucking long time and the industries just crashed and burned and they all got consolidated and bought up
Floundered
and
around.
shit like that.
Yeah, no, they got fucked. They got fucked up by
Okay.
our.
Go ahead, rant. Go ahead, rant.
No, I can't remember it. No, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. Didn't get there.
Didn't get there.
Didn't get to the rant.
Okay, no problem. Because so there's the theme of journey in this thing, right? There's also this theme of friendship, like this group goes on the journey. And that's really an interesting twist that like a group of people would go on a journey. Like have you ever read Canterbury Tales? It's like an English majors thing.
So
Yeah, you probably have seen stories out of it. It's where this English idea of the frame story comes from. There's like I think it's an inn and people coming out off the street and they're weary and they pull up next to the fire and they tell you their story. And so you get like 6 or 7 stories of perspectives on the road or life and it's all put together, Canterbury Tales. And so anyway, it's an old English story and there have been reimaginings of it over time. One of my favorites is called Hyperion or the Hyperion series. It's by Dan Simmons and it is extremely rich. It feels like a classic Greek. I was reading this shit when I was a teenager, like when I was like probably 13 or 14, and it's so rich in its descriptions of life and death and war and sexuality and fatherhood and childhood. It's just like it's so fucking rich and dense. It's wild. But anyway, there's something about the group in Until the End of the World making the journey that's kind of wild. And it's wild that they've got the technology that allows them to record their dreams, right?
Well, not only that, but then the world shuts down while they're on it.
Pandemic shit.
Yeah.
Pandemic echo shit. I know. They weren't sure if the whole world was dead or not.
That's crazy.
Dude, there's that Peter Gabriel song. The blood of the woman in the woman and the man in the blood of Eden. There's this beautiful song that is haunting, that happens at the shock of the nuclear explosion of the out of control Indian satellite. It nukes the world with an EMP, and this EMP shuts down all communications, and they don't know if the world is alive or not, and so they have to retreat. They retreat within themselves because there is no world, and they use the brain scan technology, and they watch their dreams, and they get drawn into
a few of them do.
An inner symbolic world consumes them, right? Like the opposite of advertising. Like the way advertising kind of draws you out, it was like this tech like drew them in. So, anywho.
Advertising draws you out?
Advertising draws you out. Advertising tries to show you something exterior to yourself. You need to solve the problem that advertising introduces by buying something, right? Right?
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I guess that is so coupled in my mind with like social media and the fact that they've just inverted that problem and can run that shit on you without even trying now. Essentially, the advertising is flipped because your attention is there for other reasons, and I just get to stick it in there.
That's so cool.
To me it's more of like external, like that. I guess that's why I was asking questions.
That's cool. That's cool. So, also there's a scene at the very end where she's in space and she works for this thing they make up called green space, which is where they use like advanced satellite technology to like monitor ecological damage to the environment. So it's like the world finally doing some kind of proactive, like reining in of international crimes, like yeah, you know all those pirates, those Somali pirates that attacked ships. You ever hear about that kind of shit?
Yeah.
That movie,
I
Captain
am the
Phillips.
captain now.
I am the captain now. The Captain Phillips movie. That movie's a 2.5 hour heart attack, man. That movie's so fucking intense, dude. And uh, that the reason why the Somali pirates became the Coast Guard of Somalia is because some like ship from either Russia or from I don't think it was Europe, but it might have been like Sweden. I can't remember where the fuck it was from. They had this problem, which is they needed to build a containment facility to store nuclear waste, which they had won a bid to handle within certain parameters. And instead of actually incurring the cost to build that shit, they drove their boats close enough where they were in international waters, but it was fucking close to Somalia. They threw fucking nuclear waste over their fucking bow, and they killed all the fucking fish, and or fished it out. I can't remember if it was nuclear poisoning or if it was fishing out, but I'm a little bit elevated right now. But like one of those two. And so they were all fishermen and they fucking stole their fish. So they're like, motherfuckers, you weird boats out there, we're gonna steal your shit. And so that's where they came from, those pirates. Kind of crazy, right?
Interesting.
They're all
It's a
addicted to that
different
stuff.
evolution of
Yeah.
ship. Of like it's like another Viking story.
Yeah. And the Vikings didn't.
Pirates are just another Viking story. More
Dude.
modern Viking.
And the Vikings, they would do mushrooms and go into a berserker rage. The fucking
Yeah.
Somalis, they do kat, K-A-T, and they and it is, or C-A-T or K-A-T, and it is a stimulant that is grown in this part of the world. It's like they're doing something, some kind of organic-y cocaine. Or they're like, you know, like, yeah.
Yeah, when I went to Ethiopia, that's all they were doing. I remember looking it up.
Yeah, it's a stimulant. Well, it's probably like people doing like hardcore energy drinks here.
Well, it's gonna be shit. It's so long since I looked that up, but it's gonna be. It was. I remember it being like it's gonna be more. It's gonna be close to nicotine.
Yeah,
nicotine.
It's addictive. It's definitely addictive.
Yeah.
It's addictive as fuck because those guys get super addicted to it.
Chemical.
Yeah. That's cool. Anyway,
I wanted to try it, but I was there with people who wouldn't have thought that was cool.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You probably dodged a bullet, honestly.
Well,
who knows? Who knows? It's clearly somewhat addictive. I'm not sure how addictive it is.
Yeah, but okay, it's not like I can find it here very easily. I'm not
True.
Get addicted to it.
That's totally true. It's totally true. Oh gosh. Okay, so at the end, she's in green space, and she becomes the first woman of her age to be, this kind of lieutenant of. If the Earth is a lady, then a daughter of hers is now protecting her shores from the encroachments of corporations, and it's like this utopian kind of vibe that we're like getting our shit good together or whatever, right? So anyway, I love how it encodes. It's a very good. I think it's very myth-like this because it encodes a truth, but in some really obvious clothing. It's like you're hunting, but all your prey has like neon ribbons on them or something, and you're just like really easy to. It's like really easy to find.
You're tracing really hard. You're making.
Yeah. It's easy to find the locations that it goes to. Yeah. So, anyway, that's awesome. And did you also said you watched Altered States? Was that the first time you'd seen it?
Yeah, that was.
Tell me about Altered State. Tell me about Altered States.
Altered States was a crazy hallucinogenic drug experience trip that would have confused the fuck out of a lot of people in my life.
Would have confused the fuck out of a lot of people in your life.
Yeah. Or like a lot of perspectives that I've held in the past.
Wow. That what did you see? What did you see in it? Was there anything of interest?
Though.
Yeah, it was so
Oh yeah,
powerful.
no, it's like the ability that this guy like is able to like, get to a place in his head that he mutates.
Yeah, yeah,
That is crazy. That that idea is very powerful.
100%.
Yeah.
Like so, yeah, it was based on some science. It was written by a guy. God, I forget his name. I found the script online, and there's a lot of stuff that the movie kind of glosses over. What did you think of the speed of the dialogue? How fast it goes?
Yeah, I
It's it
didn't
it put me off for
perceive that,
years.
but it
Oh,
is.
yeah, it's kind of an unnatural but interesting. It sort of tries to capture something about Patty Tchaikovsky. He's this guy who wrote it, and he was famous for writing a couple of other things. And what else did he write? He was sort of one of the big guys of his generation in terms of writing shit. Um, okay, what is it? I'm just looking for some of his other credits here. God, I bet this is in any event. He wrote it, and he was drawing from a couple of different sources. So the real mushroom sort of experience comes from a woman named Maria Sabina. And Maria Sabina was a kind of Mexican saint in a way who combined a Catholic sort of worship of God with mushrooms. And there was Gordon Watson, was the guy who was the Harvard professor who went to Mexico and did mushrooms with Mary Sabina, and experienced sort of the ritual healing work that she did with Jesus, basically, and the mushrooms. And this got him to do some really deep chemistry, which is reflected in the movie Altered States. And but he also wrote an article in the 1950s in Time magazine about psilocybin mushrooms, and that is pretty much the first time in the modern era that psilocybin mushrooms get mentioned. So what Patty Tchaikovsky was trying to capture was this same sense of discovery that Gordon Watson actually went through, but he kind of added a lot of other stuff. He included Timothy
Yeah.
Leary. Timothy Leary was in Hawaii making houses that were half water, half human, so he could like hang out with dolphins and do acid and ketamine. And he would get together like eight of his. Yeah, yeah,
Humans are.
yeah, totally. And he would get
Oh
he,
my gosh, that's
dude,
crazy. People do
crazy.
whatever the fuck they want.
People
That is
they do whatever the
awesome.
fuck they want. That's right. And especially if you're in this fucking 60s. This was written in the 80s. This was like 81. The book came out in like 79, and they're like, "What the fuck is happening out there?" And they made this movie. And this movie is supposed to be like all that, but it didn't come out to great reviews. It's definitely what I love about it.
No one in our time is actually cool. Okay?
Say that again. Say that again.
No one in our time is actually that's famous now is actually very cool.
Oh,
The
what do you
people that
mean?
do shit like that are cool.
Say it again. Say it a different way. Say it a different way.
Like like I'm still stuck on that guy who was had the house in the water where he could do ketamine and acid.
Dude, check this out, motherfucker. He this is my Rick and Morty coming through. He was
Yeah.
he would create a float tank for himself and for 7 of his friends, and they'd all do ketamine together, and they do these group meditations, and they all go into the float tanks and like fucking talk to each other on the ketamine other side. Timothy.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. And so he was trying to sort of combine this what did I say? What was his name? What was his name? It's not Timothy. I can barely remember his name.
Patty Chayefsky and
Boom, boom. He
well,
wrote the deep self. The Deep Self book was written by crack 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 crack. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? John Lilly.
John Lilly.
John Lilly was like
Dude,
a true.
I had the
This is
ILL.
This is a true shamanic kind of pattern this guy's rocking, right? He's using a technology,
Yeah.
the float tank, plus fucking drugs, which is ketamine, and he's using meditation and he's using sensory deprivation. He's putting it all in one bucket. He's trying to like communicate with dolphins, and he's like giving dolphins acid and doing acid, and it's just like woo woo. There's a really good
Wow, how is he dosing dolphins?
I might be
You
reading.
know?
I might be reading between the lines, but I think they just put acid on their tongue or whatever the fuck, you know. If you're gonna give
Yeah,
acid to a dolphin,
probably.
I bet you could figure out how to do it. I bet you could figure out how to do
Yeah,
it.
definitely you could. I was just curious as to
Where there's a will, there's a way. Is all I'm saying.
100%. 100%. We dosed the whole ocean and just got in there with them. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I could die, but we also but the mystical states, like when he's making love to his sweet lady and he's like seeing God and like, you know, the mandala of Christ coming out. There's these explosions from the center of his self, the center of his being. There's the center of the mandala. And the center of the mandala is where the God self is always depicted as being. It's also where the king archetype comes from, the center of the everything. And this is a movie, and it's anyone's welcome to show me the other movie that tries to do this, because this is, as far as I know, the only one that really tries to do this. He comes into a contact with the ultimate state of transcendent nature inside of himself, and it has these weird effects, and it turns him into a monkey. This is based on some actual science about schizophrenics. In that movie, which came out in '81, they take a schizophrenic and they give her an IV bag of DMT, and she's like, "Do you have any special feelings?" And she's like, "I feel like the hand of God is touching my heart." You know, it's like she's in this transcendent ecstasy. Dude, all these kids that are into DMT, dude, this was 81, 82 that this was popping off. And they just say it, just liquid DMT through the vein, you know, it's just cool as shit.
Right in the movie.
Rick Strassman years later repeats that experiment, and he doses a number of people, and he calls off the experiment in the end because of the tremendous spiritual states that the people were being flung into. And he didn't quite know how to handle it. But people were confronting deep feelings of life and death, and you know, other worlds and real beings
Do we
that
have
were.
those accounts?
Yeah, that's the problem. They've got it. They were written down and recorded. You can see it in that documentary, the spirit DMT, the spirit molecule.
Okay.
I'll put it in the
So
library.
it's in that one?
Yeah. Well, they talk about, that's Rick Strassman talking about his DMT experiments and stuff. But anyway, in the first third of Altered States, yeah, they were doing experiments with. And anyway, here's the point. There's the science. Boy, talk about burying the fucking lead. So when they have people with true multiple personality disorder, they'll be like in personality A, and they'll switch to personality B, and these, at the time, what were thought of as immutable characteristics, like blood pressure and like optic focal, like one person in a multiple personality can sort of be healthy, and another person can't see and needs glasses, can't see,
Right.
or their blood pressure in one of the personalities was X, and then they switch personalities, and it stabilizes instantly at the next one, like there's another person in them. It's like a multiple personality disorder. You know, there's multiple. So what the science is kind of saying in that regard.
So that was
is,
documented?
Yeah, that's the real science it comes from. Yeah.
So is that that's the definition of multiple personality disorder? You have to have those types of characteristics?
Well, that's a certain
in like the DSM whatever 5?
4, 5, 8, 12,
4.
64, 397,
Yeah,
all
69.
12,000, 9,864 of your diseases will be cataloged.
Yeah.
Such a helpful document.
It's all speculative.
It's like, dude, it's kind of like an insurance manual, right? The only reason
shotgunning the ball for years. This is what
You
we
could
come up with.
you could just go, hey man, these people over here, they're not feeling so good.
Yeah, yeah, that's an equal representation.
They're just not feeling like themselves. They're not feeling good, man. We don't want to necessarily put them on your television. Yeah, and let you watch them all day. Right?
Yeah, no. You should
Okay.
take them down. You
What
should
else?
Listen to us instead.
I listened to the album you sent me, and I would think it was track number 3 or 4. That was like had a really cool, deep groove to it that I was really getting
Oh,
into.
Solus.
Yeah, totally.
Which one? Which one is that? So
Fuck! I knew you were gonna ask me, and then I was gonna have to tell you. I was gonna have to tell you with my words.
Words. I have it here. Why did I do this the hard way?
I think I can do it. I can look it up. Look it
Foreboding
up now.
feeling or prophecy?
Fucking shit, dude.
Or figure you out. Figured you out is the third one.
Holy smokes.
Boom, boom, boom.
Holy smokes. I'm the optiones are startling. SOLUS, right?
Yes, SOLUS.
I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. Who? And it's the artist,
Charles the First.
Charles the First. Solus Charles the First. Charles the First. Full album. Okay. Damn it. Stop. Okay. So full album. Okay, without track titles though. Okay, no problem. I go Wikipedia. Charles Charles the First. Charles the First Solus. They do sometimes categorize. They can be trusted a lot of times to get this stuff right. Wow. Okay, I feel like I am so slow right now. Labels, sets, releases, oncoming. Oh god, this is too much. I'm sorry. I'm bailing on this. It was like number 3. I should have brought it up.
No. So you said it was mellow and you said
It was mellow.
mellow.
It was yeah. And it was I heard an interview with Brian Eno this week, and he was talking about a bunch of cool shit related to music. But one of the things he was talking about is that when he was producing his music in the 70s and the
Sorry.
Sorry.
Biting my foot.
Right on. Crazy. I was like, what the fuck? I'm in such a suggestive state of mind.
Yeah, sorry.
But no, you're cool.
Blame Siren, he's biting me.
He's participating in the situation.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Dude, okay. He was saying that when he was making music in like the 70s and the 80s, that the voice itself was thought of as a pure thing, that something that couldn't be modified, and so that when he started to hear the vocal tuners, it's kind of this it's this artificial stretch a programmatic stretch in the voice that shows up in music or whatever, that he thought that was super cool because it was like finally the voice was having to succumb to what the rest of music had always had to succumb to through the electronic era, when you could take a glockenspiel, you take a marimba, a xylophone, and you put it on a set of keys, and all of a sudden you're like, and you're making the sound that like a huge human would have to be working at the speed of sound, light to make over here.
Yeah,
or you can just do it with
crazy.
Software. Yeah, you can do it with software.
Yeah.
You can just say, make the sound of a marimba going at 6,000 BPM. Ah! You're like, you can control everything. So anyway, he thought that was, when the vocal tuning in that album, I was seeing it. It would turn me off a little bit, but I was actually seeing it through new eyes, and it was kind of a nice artistry in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy I came across earlier this year too.
Yes.
A friend's suggestion. That's one of the most I am always interested in people sharing music on their Snapchats.
That's cool. How long have you been on Snapchat?
Fucking forever.
That's so cool. So you started when you were what age would you say?
No, I started like senior year of high school.
Senior year of high school. Is that around the time it was created, or?
2014. No, it was soon, but
nice.
Not quite.
That's okay. So people, how do they add a music recommendation? Can they actually encode the music, or is it like a link to Spotify, or what's the method of musical delivery?
Yeah, you can share a link to Spotify that you can swipe up and click right over to Spotify or Apple Music or whatever.
That's cool. I think I've got like kind of a
I
UFO.
just have Spotify. Spotify's. I don't know. I haven't had Apple Music long enough. never put in the effort to figure out Apple Music because I went straight from Pandora to Spotify
So
in high
Spotify is your,
school.
but do you have a Spotify subscripciones?
Yes, I do.
Nice. So if I send you Spotify links, those are going to be unmitigated
Yep.
successes.
Unmitigated successes.
That's cool.
Yes, sir.
We
I've been
need
paying
a.
for Spotify since college.
That's cool.
Long time.
I'm gonna switch over to light show mode here. So one of my fantasies is I want to create, you know, those oil effects in the movie that you saw with Altered States. There was like a lot of the what they do is they put a drop of a chemical right, and then they zoom the camera in, and the chemical will go through a reaction, and they can speed up or slow down that photography, and that makes it like
Yeah.
yeah. How smooth is that? How smooth is that video image for you? Is it recording it correctly?
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. Yeah, it you can definitely it's not lagging like it was on the other setting, you know.
It's
It's
not lagging.
good.
It's not lagging like it was on the other setting.
Not lagging like it was.
Oh,
The
that's
other one
cool.
was pretty smooth.
That is a muy bueno.
Careful.
Okay.
My
Yeah,
big
gotta
dog
I got at least one.
knocking stuff off.
I got at least one more experiment I want to do, if not two. I got a
Okay.
storm. I got a storm coming in here. It's like raining outside my garage here. But here we go.
Dude.
Situation engage. Boom, 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 boom. Okay.
See it? See it? See it?
These kinds of things.
Dude,
Go ahead.
sir, how I'm still trying to figure out how the screen, like, what it's doing. Like,
What you're seeing here is a set of artifacts. So the screen itself, so the input into the camera is being projected onto
the
the screen.
latency of, wait, the input into the camera is being projected onto the screen. And then
Yeah.
the latency of it turns into that.
So a lot of psychedelic art is just finding some kind of feedback loop like this. Finding some kind of technology-based feedback loop where you're getting sort of an unexpected behavior and then setting it to music. So this is kind of like a raw feed on
Right.
on
So when people are doing like AI art, this is like a more intentional version of this,
I think
more
that
crafted.
I think the AI art is more of something that's kind of caught in time. Like the AI art, to my eye, is a computational artifact. Like it's recognizing images and shape sometimes, and it's kind of painting with those through in different in
Right.
very creative
Okay.
ways.
And
But
this is more like,
this is more
yeah.
this is more
Okay, I got
agile
you.
or I think of this as like more
This is
analog.
alive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
analog.
it's
Yeah.
it's an all digital signal, but
Analog is way better word.
but the interesting part of it is not the digital part of it. The interesting part of it is the logical loop, which is the speed of electricity
Right.
through the processor, and through the processor, it you get these echoes back from these different levels of what are essentially computational processing levels within the algorithm, the series of instructions that's turning the electrical signals into actual moving pictures. Yeah. All these are these are essentially artifacts. Do you remember that ending scene from Interstellar?
Past in time. Where he's there, dude. I remember Interstellar being amazing, and I remember like piano strings in time, and you'd be able to like signal through them essentially.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, where does this get us?
Interstellar.
Dude, we could do a deep dive into the
Do you have a
science.
Snapchat, Rev?
I don't have a Snapchat. Should I have a Snapchat?
Do you have a Snapchat? I don't know. Not necessarily.
Well, I remember kind of the range when Snapchat came out. I remember reading a really funny article in Wired at one point where
Oh yeah.
I forget what year it
Tell
was,
me,
but
please.
they were interviewing like I think it was seventh graders, and they go, "What kind of social media do you like?" And the seventh grader, no, yeah, it was seventh grader goes, "Yeah, we're all on Snapchat." And they're like, "What about Facebook?" I was like, Facebook is for narcs and teachers." Or something. And it was like and it was like all of their teachers could track their behavior. So if they recorded the fun and interesting and sort of initiatory, sort of more off limits part of their lives on the social media, their
That's
parents
what
and their
Snapchat
teachers,
is.
they'd use it as a
Well,
panopticon.
Snapchat's got formalized,
Yeah.
but in groups, that's still what it is.
In groups, that's still what it is.
Yeah, because you can just the options in user interface and the just the either chat or picture, like instant picture that gets deleted. A picture that gets deleted is, or at least if someone takes a screenshot, you get notified.
Yeah.
Is it's a different type of that's a different type of action.
I see. Can I show you? I want to cheat a little bit here. I didn't do this other piece of homework in this week, which was that, remember we were looking at that picture of something that was a true third? And that something that was a true third was, I was trying to figure out what the moves would be to get to like a true third.
A true third?
Well, to take a circle.
Oh yeah, we were trying to draw a third.
Yeah. Draw a third.
Yeah.
I think it's going to work. I think what happens is you draw a circle like this, and then I guess you could choose a point. You could choose any point on there and then draw these guys. Yeah, then you could rotate this whole thing. But anyway, I think like this point here and that point here, those look like natural thirds to me. I don't know. If you sort of went out to there from the center, and then if you went, went center out to there, and then the center out to there, there's something there. There's something there. Like that point and that point. Anyway, this is a book called A Beginner's Guide to Constructing the Universe. And it is the Mathematical Archetypes of Nature, Art, and Science, a Voyage from 1 to 10. This guy is a modern day geometer. And what you can do is start with 1 and go all the way through to 12. And this is the archetype of the one, the holy one, the circle with the center point, the monad. And then, everything from Hindu chakra systems, or these are called yantras. Meditation upon a yantra like this was meant to connect you to the actual nervous system experience of your body. So it was a visual way it's a visual way to get into the energy centers of the body, which is the goal of a lot of yoga. And this book I came across years ago, this served as a pretty good guide to that experience. This was John Selby's Kundalini Awakening, A Gentle Guide to Chakra Activation and Spiritual Growth. So it's like the chakra systems, but these are very specifically designed images meant to indicate the four actual nadi, the four nerve roots that leave at the base of the spine. And then this one, the second chakra, there is actually 6 nerves that leave from the spine at this level. And as you go up the spine, you get more leaves on these chakra. Chakra just means wheel.
The branching goes increasing.
Yeah. Now imagine
based on the nerves in that area.
You got it. There's your heart. There's your heart. That's the heart, and that is the throat, and this is the third eye. The Ida and the Parang, these are where the streams come together. And at the point at which they come together, the 7th chakra blooms out of that, and that's union with the absolute. And so much of what Jung was talking about, and also I think what Joseph Campbell talks about, is just this is an extremely detailed system. It's very well thought through. So But this is a two-dimensional image, and I remember having this kind of an insight explained to me about Tibetan art. That all of the Tibetan art, many times when it was rendered in 2 dimensions, it was actually meant to be thought of in 3 dimensions. And so the actual systems of energy in the body, they are structured. They have shape, and so the there's a very there's an extremely interesting kind of, you can start to play around with the idea that there is a bridge between the visual imagination especially and the actual inner states of consciousness. So the chakra system is sort of one way to talk about it, but like another way is sort of this geometry, the light body, the geometry body of the light aspect of the body. Anyway, this is kind of a cool little toy. I use this from time to time to explain this kind of, this, you've seen this thing? It's like energy.
Yeah,
If you can imagine the fountain in the Iron John story is the same kind of fountain that Alex and Allison Gray talk so much about, the fountains and drains of light, the toroidal field that passes through all living things. And that toroidal field is, he gets into it quite in depth in here. And when he starts talking about spirals. So this would be like, this is an example of a spiral moving through a plant system. These are examples of how the radii, or as leaves kind of come out in shoots, they come out in these very particular patterns. And this would be an example of sort of the 3-dimensional nature of how energy actually, how leaves arrange themselves in a spiral naturally so in any event, you think of like a branch on a tree and you draw it as 2 dimensions, but really it's in 3 dimensions. And this field, this infinite field that spirals into the center, if you look at it from above, that is the calm eye of the storm.
The calm eye of the storm.
The calm eye of the storm. I haven't read this in a while. This is Jacob's Ladder over here. This is a Yellow Brick Road from Dorothy. Getting some serious myths now. Anyway, so this sucker is what I like. This is like a 3D. Okay, so now we went 2D to 3D. Now go from 3D to 4D. Go into time, and a lot of those images are meant to be, what they're really meant to be is rotating 3-dimensional objects. So you're seeing a 2-dimensional representation of a 3-dimensional form that really, all form is in motion. There is motion in all form. And so I think of like that core, what's called the Sushumna in the Hindu system, that central stream of energy through the body that passes through the heart and through the essence of who we are. And let's see if we can go a little 3D with this thing. Go like this. Go. See, it's like the Merkaba, the light body, is a balanced spinning field. It's a field that literally balances you in space and time. And that balance in space and time is created by this motion, by the upward and downward flow of energy through the energy column. And that energy, when it hits these centers in the being, it comes out from them, and they come out in 3 dimensions, and they come out in motion. And so the science kind of the light body is a science of, first off, somehow connecting with that real field. And that's where a study of that traditional chakra system is so helpful, because it kind of goes to the place in the mind where the mind, imagination, the breath, they all kind of flow together. And you can intentionally reach from your conscious mind into your physical body. And people do, they call it, yogis do this throughout, they do crazy stuff with their bodies, and they can change the amount of time they can hold their breath. Like Wim Hof, he's like a yogi with his body, doing like swimming underwater where no one's been able to swim underwater and stuff like this. It's a wild thing.
Yeah, he's crazy. I've been drawn to the breath this week.
Yeah.
Again.
Cool.
And as I was hiking, because of just the stuff I've been thinking about this week and my state around it.
Yeah.
And I decided to just go on a pretty hard hike, and I even started running, and I just took off and went. And then once I got to the top of the ridge, I was letting myself feel breathe instead of like intentionally controlling my breath as I was going up the hill.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I was in after that burst of that rush, and as I didn't stop, so I just cooled down by keeping walking. And in that, I was like, there, there's a reason I've been drawn to the breath, but I have kind of blown over it a lot. Like I've tried meditating
Yeah.
and whatnot,
Yeah.
and have done that semi decently consistently,
Yeah.
but I have not done breath work type stuff. And even though I've recognized in the past that like it's like really important to breathe through your nose and shit like that, you know,
Yeah.
and there's a ton of science behind that that I've kind of explored a little bit.
Yeah.
And shoot, but I have just kind of blown off the breath work side, and I was realizing it this week.
Dude, I want to get I'm going on a staycation for 2 weeks with my wife, starting actually after this call, and we're go-
Haha,
we're gonna go into
cool.
2 weeks of no email from work and all this kind of stuff, and it's really neat because it really lends itself to some deep dives. And I want to deep dive into that Kundalini Awakening book and get back into very basic, like meditating on the centers and I also want to, over the years at different times I've thought of different ways of talking about the filling the light body with sunlight. Essentially, there's you can use the sun as a kind of meditative focus, and you can energetically, because it's so much energy, you can sort of fill your body with sunlight. And I've always wanted to sort of chase down what might be the way to communicate that to another person. So anyway, those are
Yeah,
two of the
that's
projects that I got.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about from my experience, but I'm not very good at it at all.
No, I think it's
I have a taste.
yeah, yeah. I think there's always room for improvement, right? There's always room to
Oh
get
yeah, for
better
sure.
things, and
It's about the journey, man.
it's about the journey, man. Have you seen Brainstorm yet?
No, I haven't.
Well,
But
okay, okay. I started this thought, but I didn't finish it. Altered States is about sort of the God within, like the power of the divine within. It's based on all that science and all those other stories, but it really does try to chase down what the psychological quest for the center of everything, the God self or whatever within. It puts it into movie form. It's a that is that he is obsessed with finding the true transcendent thing, and it almost
right,
destroys him. And the only thing that
right.
brings him back in the end is human connection and the love and love,
And
essentially,
love.
and love. And it's
Yep.
the same. It's the same in Brainstorm. Brainstorm is about a memory remembering technology where you can put on this headset and it'll remember. You can record your sensorium and then play it back for another
Okay.
person, and just what that means. Anyway,
The deal. Yeah.
it's around the same time that these two were made, and they're
Interesting.
very dated, but Brainstorm is great. It's a very good movie. It has this beautiful image of
Why
angel
don't why
at the
why
end.
we make so many movies about stories rather than ideas now?
Tell me more.
Like, I guess the ideas around a lot of movies are just trivial. Like, I don't know, not trivial. It's just
Well,
like,
you certainly, yeah, you could make a story about everyday life, like about normal level stuff, but
yeah, but you don't have any like crazy groundbreaking ideas. No, I just find that maybe I'm just like stumbling into art that's more satisfying to me. I'm shitting on everything else.
what is the most satisfying art that you got going on right now?
Most satisfying art that I
Yeah,
have going on?
yeah, or just that you like.
Shit.
Rick and
Oh
Morty, dude.
man.
Rick and Morty, this arc
Rick
right
and
here.
Morty. No,
Rick and
yeah.
Morty, Rick and Morty, love
Rick
potion
and
number
Morty
9.
is a classic. I've been watching some of the BoJack Horseman, like you were
Oh
saying.
God.
Oh shit. Yeah. No, that speaking of BoJack Horseman, I've been wanting to say this to you at some point. That like introduction, like their what is the thing they play at the beginning in like
The intro, the intro.
titles, the
Oh,
intro,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
intro,
yeah,
the intro.
Yes.
It's such a trippy intro. Like that, I love the music in that intro. It's fucking great. I
Wow.
love the music in the
Nice.
Motorbag
Nice.
Horseman intro. Yeah.
Dude, I'll probably have to get into that eventually. That Patriot is so good. They love the Beastie Boys in that. There's so many Beastie Boys references in that
You boys in the Patriot.
in the Patriot. Yeah, they use
Yeah.
they use a lot of whatchamacallit, like they'd use a lot of B-boy references. They play a lot of the music. I think the second season starts with Sabotage.
Sabotage. Were you watching the Patriot recently?
I watched it about a year ago and I fucking loved it. It's so melancholy. It's so good. There's
Yeah.
something really
It's been a
intense.
couple years since I watched it, but yeah, it is.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
so melancholy.
I'm pull-
Beautifully melancholy.
Okay.
Kind of like what's that? There's like a British television show, The Boy and a Girl who run away from home.
Harold and Maude?
And no, it was on Netflix. It came out a couple years ago.
That's cool.
I don't remember what it's called. Crazy. Anyway, same like vibes of crazy people like that.
Tell me more about these vibes.
I don't know. I'm losing it.
You're losing it. All right. we're gonna need to make some adjustments.
Make some adjustments.
We're gonna need to make some adjustments. Need to make some.
TV.
Yeah, dude. Okay. I am very much interested. Okay, so I'm gonna add Cosmos, at least season 1, to the library. Cosmos season 1 is Cosmos season 1. It's there's this really beautiful description of evolution in there that I think you're gonna freaking love. And I haven't gotten the Animatrix in there yet, but I need to. That is on the way. But I did put Alpha Go and Deep Mind in there. Those guys. So that's all queued up.
AlphaGo and Deep Mind.
And also I put the Lex
I know
Friedman.
what AlphaGo is.
I put the Lex Friedman episodes in and the Elon Musk in, and I also put some other links. Did you do any thinking about 23andMe?
Oh yeah, we were gonna talk about that.
Yes, we were going to analyze the science.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We're going to analyze the science.
I think no matter what.
Well, not the science, but we wanted to analyze the science, but what we wanted to do was figure out who owns that data.
Who owns that data?
That is your DNA, because they get that stuff.
I think that there's some, yes. Okay, so what we're looking for is like kind of a privacy policy conversation. Okay.
Yeah, the privacy policy conversation, which maybe can they sequence all of it and only read some of it, or
you can get a full sequence done, and the full sequence you can then put that into certain biological software, and that biological software will spit out connections, like you have this or you don't have that, and then you can essentially take that information and you can go to the white papers, just the raw science on all of this stuff, and when you get the raw science on it, you can then be like, okay, if you have this expression, you probably like the smell of asparagus. If you or don't, mangoes. They found a genetic marker for mangoes. If it goes one way, you don't mind mangoes or you'd love them. If it goes the other way, you can't fucking stand mangoes. It's just one. It's this one mutation.
They give you do they show you population data on that stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing. And some of their stuff comes from papers like that, but they also do science. They know your genome in certain areas, and then they ask you questions. And so you can take endless surveys where they're like, do you feel like this or this? Does this happen to you? Does that happen to you? And then based on statistical correlation, they can kind of back into these mutations usually mean these kinds of expressions to this percentile, and they're very precise.
Population study.
Yeah, probably, kind of, yeah.
Huge.
Okay, so we've got a
genetic human population study there is right now.
Probably one of them, right? This is like a little boat I was making out
Their
of
business.
It's a boat.
It's a boat.
Is that the pirate ship, dude?
It's kind of like a pirate ship, but it's got like kind of like angel wings, like as a boat.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Okay, so what I think I'm gonna do is I really want to get into, dude, I want to read that Joseph Campbell. I want to watch Mythos. I want to watch Power of Myth. I want to,
Yeah, I want.
yeah, we gotta, dude. There's some great deep dives coming up in the days ahead, brother.
Deep dive in. Yeah, I'm gonna probably. That's what I should. That's what I should do this weekend.
What do you, what? Awesome. All right, are we ready? Are we done?
Ah! Yeah, let's be done. I appreciate this time with you, brother.
It was so much fun. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Dude, how this came from the ceiling? Dude, you're fucking crazy.